I'm very often asked by clients and on my Facebook page, is this behavior narcissistic, or is this person narcissistic when they do this? It can be, for example, this person has spent a lot of money on me and now reminds me that I'm indebted to them. Or they sent me a text 2 weeks after we met and say they love me. Or they ridicule me when I talk about what I like. And they give me examples and they post screenshots of messages they've gotten. And of course I really understand the need to know if the person they are interacting with is actually a narcissist, because that would confirm that it's not you who are crazy. You're not seeing things. You are actually seeing what you think you're seeing. So I totally get the whole I want an answer thing. However, narcissism is a serious diagnosis, and it's not something that we can determine over the internet if someone is narcissistic. We can say that they have toxic behavior. We can say that they have dysfunctional behavior patterns. We can say that there's red flags in their actions. But we can't say if they're a narcissist or not. That would require a diagnosis. We would require them to sit in front of us and actually do an examination and a test. We can say that some behavior is narcissistic. There are some narcissistic traits, and I've made this free online course that's called How to Spot a Narcissist. I'll put a link down here, where you can see the 9 traits, and if a person has the five of the 9 traits, they can be called narcissistic, or you can say that they have narcissistic traits for sure. However, the finding answers to whether a person or a behavior is narcissistic or not. I have a tool that you can use that will help you. Instead of finding out whether a person is narcissist or not, you can actually look at their behavior and ask yourself, when that person does this or says this or is like that, is that good for me? Is that behavior or those words, are they good for me or not? If not, then the behavior is toxic for you. See, the thing is that we talk about toxic people, but really people are not toxic. They might be mentally ill, they might have a diagnosis, but they are not toxic. Their behavior is toxic. And when you learn to differentiate, you can use this tool, because if a person has a behavior that is toxic to you, then you need to protect yourself from that person and from that behavior. It is actually as simple as that. You don't need to know if the person is mentally ill or dysfunctional or mentally challenged in any way. The only thing you need to know is, am I feeling bad because of this behavior or these words? If so, then you need to protect yourself. And you are always allowed to do that. You're always allowed to protect yourself from behavior that is toxic to you, okay? You don't need to have verified whether a person has a diagnosis or not. If a behavior is toxic for you, you need to protect yourself from that behavior. So there's another question I'll give you that you can ask. Would I do this? Would I have behavior like this? Would I do something like this? That's another question you can ask. And if the answer is no, I would definitely not do this, then the behavior is probably toxic for you, or overstepping your boundaries. So this is the next, is this overstepping my boundaries? Sometimes we have our boundaries overstepped, and we can't really feel it because we're not in touch with ourselves. But I urge you to close your eyes and feel your gut feeling, because your gut feeling can actually tell you whether this behavior is good for you or not. And if your gut feeling says this behavior is definitely not good for me, then it isn't. And you should take precautions. You should remove yourself from that situation. You should remove yourself from that person. And also, I often am asked, does it help to argue or try to explain why someone is hurting me with their behavior? No, don't do that. It's not your job. You can say, I'm very hurt by what you're doing or saying. And if people don't respond with, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you, I will definitely take that into account and adjust my behavior when I'm with you in the future. If they don't do that, if they say, oh, I was just kidding, or, oh man, you're really sensitive, aren't you? Or, come on, don't be like that. That's just stupid. You know, if they're demeaning in some way, just remove yourself. Don't try to explain or argue with them why it's hurting you. You are allowed to be sensitive. You are allowed to not like that behavior. You are allowed to think that that behavior is toxic for you, okay? So take this with you, and instead of looking at them and wondering whether they are toxic or narcissistic or mentally ill or dysfunctional, look at yourself instead and ask, is this good for me or not? Because that is really what determines everything. Okay, take good care of you, have fun, and live your best life.